Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Kalen DeBoer, Alabama, filling it up in the 2025 class, landing their second five-star commitment of the weekend in five-star offensive tackle Ty Haywood from the state of Texas. And the Alabama fans who've been rocking with the fellas the last couple of weeks, you guys know how I feel about Ty Haywood, one of, if not my favorite offensive tackle in this 2025 cycle. You look at Ty Haywood, what makes him so special, at least in my opinion, is this is a kid that has a high floor, high ceiling. And that's not something you necessarily always talk about with high school recruits. Either they have really high floors, but maybe not that high upside, or guys that have some high upside, but maybe have some question marks about him. You look at Ty Haywood. Not only do I see Ty Haywood just being a multi-year starter in the SEC, I think he has the potential to be a top 5 NFL draft pick as well. And you look at what Alabama is doing on the offensive line, guys like Micah DeBoer, Jackson Lloyd, and Michael Carroll. We knew Kalen DeBoer was probably going to come in and do really, really good with the offensive skill. And then guys like Caleb Cunningham or Keelan Russell or Ryan Williams, there was going to be a line out the door for offensive playmakers to play for this Alabama team, because Kalen DeBoer's track record in terms of NFL development is just so special. I think the big question mark we had was, can Kalen DeBoer come into Alabama and win some of these recruiting battles along the line of scrimmage? You take a look up. Alabama, in my mind, has the best offensive line class in the 2025 cycle. A phenomenal job by Kalen DeBoer, this Alabama coaching staff, fired up to get into the film of Ty Haywood. Before we do it, as always, massive shout out to the Alabama fans. The amount of support you guys have continued to show to the boys as we've broken down all these commitments, it's been really special. We appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Ty Haywood. I think it starts with just the physical specs that you are getting with Ty Haywood. If you were to build a left tackle at the collegiate level, Ty Haywood would probably be the guy that you try to model it in a laboratory, right? 6'5", 285. He carries that 285 pounds incredibly well. And he has extremely long arms. I mean, he has the ideal frame. He's a phenomenal athlete, comfortably will get up to 310 pounds, maintain that athleticism. You start talking about the frame. He's a box checker, extremely long arms, moves his feet extremely well. Then you start talking about the power that he has in his hands, a guy with elite shot put numbers, and you see that show up on the film. Again, it kind of goes back to the high ceiling, high floor. This kid checks so many boxes, and he's such a polished offensive lineman coming from Ryan and Denton, Texas, that you feel really good that he's going to be starting early and often for Alabama on the offensive line. But then you start looking at the upside, the blend of the frame and the elite athleticism, the power that he has in his hands, and you say the upside is certainly there as well to be a top 10 NFL draft pick at the offensive tackle spot. Phenomenal class for Alabama on the offensive line. You take a look at the film, and again, it's kind of clinical from a guy in Ty Haywood. I mean, every single rep you see, it's extremely polished. The hand placement is phenomenal. Gets off the line of scrimmage extremely well. At times, you want to see him play a little bit lower, but you just see the power in his hands. I mean, when you start combining the get off the line of scrimmage, then the power that he has in his hands from that shot put background, I think that's what you're getting really special. Hand placement is always perfect for Ty Haywood. Again, this is a very well-coached offensive lineman that knows what he's doing. So you're combining elite athletic traits with a polished offensive lineman. There's just not many boxes that Ty Haywood doesn't check. One of the things I love about Ty Haywood is what he does when he's engaged. I mean, he puts his hands in the perfect spots every time. And when you're engaged with Ty Haywood, I mean, you just can't get off these blocks. How many times do we see offensive linemen maybe have some good pop in their hands, but not be able to maintain their blocks? Ty Haywood certainly can do that. And again, just overwhelming in terms of the upper body strength and the power that he has in his hands. You continue to work through the film, and it just doesn't get much better. You see him in pass protection. It's no surprise. He is very good in the pass protection department as well, which is probably most of the bigger question marks you have for offensive linemen. Staying engaged, really, really good balance, upper body strength, flexible in the hips, knees, and ankles. I don't know what box Ty Haywood does not check. And again, it's really special because this is a guy that you just don't feel like you're going to miss on. And you take a look at what Alabama's doing in the 2025 class. It is it's about as good of a recruiting class that I've seen in a really long time, probably going back to Texas A&M in 2022, but specifically on the offensive line. Again, you have your headliners in quarterback Keelan Russell and Caleb Cunningham, but you start looking at the offensive line, say Ty Haywood, a guy that's going to be a bona fide starter, top end starter in the SEC for multiple years. You continue to scroll down and say, hey, we feel really good about Michael Carroll, a guy that could play tackle, that could play guard. You continue to scroll down and say Jackson Lloyd. And Jackson Lloyd and Michael Carroll are top 30 national prospects according to On3. And there's reasons to like these guys. Jackson Lloyd, another offensive tackle that I'm extremely high on. Micah DeBoer, again, could play tackle. I think he probably best fits in at guard. You got 4 or 5 blue chip offensive linemen in this 2025 class. And why that's so important is the offensive line is that one position that you don't want to miss on the high school trail, because it is awfully hard to address that position in the transfer portal. You can go out and get a wide receiver. You can go out and get a cornerback. Those guys are readily available in the transfer portal. That one position that really is not readily available, and you want to make sure you're filling it up in the high school classes, is on the offensive line. And you look at Alabama, they're not going to need to go to the transfer portal anytime soon for offensive linemen because they're filling it up on the high school recruiting trail. You got to get these kind of bodies into your program, get them developed. That's how you want to start building your rosters from the high school ranks. I can't tell you how impressed I am with Kalen DeBoer. I think our question was, hey, can Kalen DeBoer come in and kind of maintain what Alabama is doing on the recruiting trail? And I think we even said it, if he takes a small step back from what we saw with Nick Saban, Kalen DeBoer can still win national championships with Alabama. The crazy part is we're sitting here in the middle of July saying it seems like Alabama might even be taking a step in the right direction on the recruiting trail post Nick Saban. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card for this Bama program. It is a masterclass in terms of how Kalen DeBoer is building this unit in 2025. I think we still got some more commitments on the way for Alabama, so we'll continue to break them down. Ty Haywood, polished, big-time upside, massive get for Alabama. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. We'll cut it there. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Been a blast breaking down these commitments, and we'll talk to you guys later.